all, I'd like to thank Ambassador Malac for making the time to share her very rich knowledge of Cameroon and of the diplomatic processes and institutions with our people. I want to really thank you for the advice that you have given us today, and say that yes, you are the second person to emphasize unity among the different groups, because you quoted Dr. Amos Sawyer, who was the first person to explain to us why the Liberia situation took so long, and it really was because of lack of unity among the different groups. So I listened to how many times you mentioned the word unity, that the groups must come together. I'm sure it's something that we're going to be working on. You also couched the AU arrangement in a different way, and I think we have learned that we need to go through the AU Commission. I'm proposing that we also try to use the five regional groups that we have, ECOWAS in West Africa, the ECAS in Central Africa, which I know is also very weak, but ECOWAS is quite strong, so we could use that as well to lobby for us, the AU. I hear very loud and clear your message about time, that our people should be more patient and should really keep emotions out of the struggle and focus more on strategy. So your key messages are well taken, and I think that our leaders are listening. You talk about leadership being articulate on the issues, that they need to really articulate the issues very well. We really appreciate that. And the leaders themselves should really work on making sure that they can articulate the issues very well when they go out to speak on our behalf. So I really want to appreciate you. Thank you. I have known you. I consider you a very close friend. So I'm so appreciative of the time that you've taken to come talk to us. And I hope that our people have heard you, they've learned from you, and they are going to rework their strategy and make sure that the lessons that you've imparted on us today, we take them to heart. And we thank you from the bottom of our hearts. And for that, I can prepare for you your favorite Cameroonian dish. I know that you have a long list, and you love the music, you love the culture. So it's only the melanin content on our bodies. You will see my sister from a different mother, but I really appreciate you, and thank you so much, Ambassador Malac. Thank you.
Thank you, yeah, for those comments. We are going to try to keep our comments so that we can get through. Your Excellency, we want to make sure we are not overlapping how much time you have to spend with us. Is it okay to take a few more comments or questions even?
Yes, no, it's fine.
Okay, good. Thank you, Your Excellency. Thank you. Let us keep our comments to 2 minutes, please, so that we can have many more participations. Edmond, you're next. Go ahead.
Yeah, Your Excellency, thank you very much for coming to interact with us today. And really, I think the people of Southern Cameroon will not forget this. Those kids who have died, the over 12,000 of our comrades who have died, the thousands and thousands who are in the dungeons of Yaoundé, they will not forget this. The well over 1 million people who are internally displaced, and then the hundreds of thousands of refugees that are actually there. See, when for people like your caliber, sometimes people want to play politics, but then the courageous people like you, righteous people like you who have a true moral compass that I respect a lot, actually look at this and look at the sufferings of the people and come to their rescue and say, look, you're going to put out your voice, because at the end, as Martin Luther King said, it is really not the words of your enemy that hurts, but the silence of your friends. And I really hope that you continue to do what you're doing, not for us. Many of us who are outside here are safe, you know, from the fangs of the regimes in Yaoundé. But we have loved ones who are unsafe and who are constantly being killed, being murdered every passing day, as we say it. It's a day that we have to cry another person who's, who has been killed. It's a day that we have to see another woman who has been raped. It's a day that we have to talk about currently 800,000 kids who haven't gone to school in 4 years. So, you know, just factor that and say what kind of new, society are we creating? And as a moral person, I want to really sincerely thank you. And I just wanted to really, along those lines, ask you a question that I had sent to the moderator, and I think probably he would have asked that anyway. Would be, for the second year running, the Norwegian Refugee Center has ranked the crisis in Southern Cameroon as the least neglected. You know, and with all of this, it's the regime in Yaoundé doesn't only inflict pain on our people, but what they do is make it even impossible for all those of us who want to help. And you know, how do we overcome that kind of system? I mean, I would just like to get your input, even if it is off air. That's really awesome. But if you can, just please take up and give us your thoughts. Thank you. Your microphone is muted, Your Excellency.
Something's going on. Won't even, now? Am I okay?
Yes,
Okay.
Your Excellency, yes.
It's not even showing me when I'm muted anymore. I don't know what happened. Thank you for that. And I do want to say I have followed what's been happening in Cameroon. I think maybe because it was the first, my first time ever in Africa was in Cameroon. I traveled all over the country those many, many years ago, and it has stayed with me ever since. And so, and I saw, I think in those days, the promise of what Cameroon as a country, what Cameroon as a more unified, federated, what the people of Cameroon could become or could be. Unfortunately, that promise and that potential has been corrupted over the years by the current regime. I mean, there's no other way to put it. And what has been happening, especially in the last few years, is just beyond horrifying. And you rightly point out that in any of these kinds of conflicts, it's so much more than just the incident on the ground at a given time. So, this incident where this village was burned, or this incident where these people were killed, it's a constant threat. It's the environment, it's the people who are displaced, it's the refugees, the ones who actually are able to get out, maybe. And then affects those people who are in the diaspora, who are somewhere else, who may be safe but have family members at risk. So it's never a simple solution. And so and unfortunately, in some ways, it's unfolding at a time where there are many other crises in the world. So you look at Syria, which has been ongoing for years. You look at the ongoing problems in South Sudan still, the numbers of the migration, the migrants who have gone across the Mediterranean trying to get to Europe, the numbers of displaced and refugees and crisis situations and conflict situations around the world is the highest it's ever been. And so it becomes increasingly more difficult to get people's attention. But this is why, you know, one of the first steps, obviously, and it's easy to say and harder to do because you know this as Cameroonians better than I, is to get rid of the government you currently have. And, you know, the potential of having a new leadership at least offers perhaps the opportunity for some sort of a conversation about what the future of the country looks like, and whether that's a country in terms of a split and two countries, whether there's any possibility of any other kind of a solution and a federated arrangement or not. Those are all things that you can't really even have a discussion with a government or an institute, a leadership that is invested only in staying in power at all costs and not looking for any other solutions. But, you know, whether that, when and how soon that happens certainly remains to be seen. As I said to people, you know, I was in Cameroon when Paul Biya became president in 1982. If you had told me then that 38 years later, he would still be president, I would never have believed you. Because I think at that point, I think everyone was willing to think that Cameroon would continue to move in a somewhat positive direction and things would go well. Because I certainly met Cameroonians across the country who were talented and smart and clever and had so much energy and passion and intellect and desire to see things move forward. So in whatever little way I can help with this process, I'm happy to do that. But ultimately, it is for you all to come together, create that unified message, really make an effort to, if nothing else, raise your voices to the point where people can't just look away. Because it is difficult when you have so many refugees and other situations going on to get people's attention. You know, you have to start somewhere and it has to be done, because otherwise it will just continue to be a neglected crisis.
Thank you, Your Excellency. What you just said, we hope if the administration changes, you will unretire. we can use you again in the State Department. Why not? Secretary of State, maybe. We like to get comments from our people on ground zero. Sometimes some of them tune in. If there is anybody on ground zero who wants to make a comment, this is your opportunity. Ground zero, is there anybody there?
Yes, there's somebody there.
Who is this? Oh, okay, no, sorry, you're on ground zero. Go ahead, 2 minutes, please.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Hold on. Your Excellency, I hope ground zero is clear to you, people who are calling from Southern Cameroon, so in the country, yes. Go ahead, ground zero.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Moderator, and thank you, Your Excellency. I'm calling from ground zero in the heart of Bamenda town. And right now, the naming and killing is, I can say, way above our expectation. As one of our brothers just said, Jan Egeland, head of the Norwegian Refugee Council, has said our crisis is a war-neglected crisis. So the question I want to ask is, based on your knowledge, what can you do? Because it seems as if the international media has totally ignored our crisis. What can we do to bring this crisis to world's attention? Because when I look at the international media, we don't see anything going on, but we're struggling every day. I think we have our brothers out there in the diaspora who are struggling every day to bring this thing to the world's attention, but they are totally neglected. So what can we do? What advice can we, I know you've said we need to be united, but what advice can you give us if our brothers who are in the diaspora, they can help us bring this conflict to international media? Thank you.
Thank you, compatriot. I hope you stay safe. Your Excellency, over to you.
I'm safe.
Yeah, I think ultimately it's, you know, the starting point has to be sort of an organized, concerted media campaign, to be perfectly frank. It has to be, you know, you need to get opinion pieces in the paper, you need to get footage, you know, on social media. I mean, you know, it's not like trying to get broadcast media or get international media. now you have so many toeholds because you have the ability to use social media to also amplify this. But it may take multiple efforts to get there. In other words, you may try to get something placed in more mainstream media, and it may take several opportunities to do that. It's finding voices and allies who can write on your behalf. It's finding ways to raise the media profile, because if the media profile is raised, then people start to pay attention. It's knocking on doors on Capitol Hill and talking to staffers. And, again, it won't be, it may take talking to 100 staffers before you find 1 or 2 or 3. But looking at, entities within the U.S. Congress, like the Foreign Affairs Committee staffers, the Senate Foreign Relations Committee staffers, people who can go and talk and tell the story of what is happening on the ground and offer a vision of what needs to happen or what they want to see is going to be critical. And it takes doing that in an organized fashion. You can't have multiple groups going with multiple points of view and multiple versions, because then it becomes very difficult for policymakers and opinion makers to know who they should listen to, or who's telling the real story, or what is it they would want other than simply drawing attention to the issue. Because it is a crisis that needs to be paid attention to, but ultimately it's more, you want more. We all want more than just it being paid attention to. We want a solution and a path forward and a way back to peace for Cameroonians, for people to be able to live their lives and raise their families and pursue their livelihoods.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Before we go on to Jojo, is there anybody else on ground 1 or ground 0? Okay, Jojo, 2 minutes for your comments.
Okay, thank you very much, Mrs. Ambassador. From everything that you've said, I've realized that this problem, the solution to our problem lies on ourselves. And I also appreciate the concern of the international community to see another state emerge in Africa. But we, the people of Southern Cameroon, did just stand up one day and still want independence. For the past 6 decades, we've been trying to solve this problem. And when the teachers and the lawyers, they went to the street, they were asking for the international community is not looking at it from our own point of view, because the government in place have refused to discuss with us.
Jojo, we
realize that 3 years or so, there have been also been a decentralization constitution in place, but they have not done anything with that. So the government is not interested in the devolution of power to share any power with us. And so we've been left with the option to separate. Cardinal Tumi, even when this crisis just started, Cardinal Tumi tried to call an all-Anglophone conference, but the government frustrated it. It didn't work. So we've been trying all along to talk, but they don't want to talk. And because they don't want to talk, we are left with no other option but to leave the union. When this thing started, I didn't even want to hear the name Ambazonia, but today Ambazonia sounds like the best poetry in my ears, because they don't want to talk the way they are handling it. Look at everything that is happening today, like our brother from Ground Zero who just called. He's saying they are killing people, they are destroying people. They don't want to talk. All we wanted was to talk, but they don't want to talk. And the international community does not want to see this from our point of view. We want to talk, but they don't want to talk. They drew up a decentralization constitution over 24 years ago, but they have not been able to implement it because they don't want it. Then Paul Biya went to Paris and said they were in the process of assimilating us. That is their objective. And nobody wants to be assimilated. We want to be our own people, we want to take our own decision. So this is a frustration. And we want the international community to look at it from this perspective, because they are not looking at it from this perspective. concerning building a stable state in the Gulf of Guinea. Just like you said, we have enormous amount of resources. Our human resources is what we take pride of. We have it, we can build our country, we can sustain ourselves. Please just take this message to the International Committee to look at it from our point of view. La Republic du Cameroon does not want to negotiate with us. And if they don't want to negotiate with us, we cannot do any other thing than to separate. Thank you very much for your insight.
Thank you. Thank you, Jojo. Let's take Isaac next for 2 minutes, and then Your Excellency, if you want to say something in between, that's okay.
I'm certainly, I understand the frustration, and I understand why people feel like they have been left with no other alternative. And maybe that is the alternative that has to happen and has to be realized at some point. But going from where you are now to that point is a journey. And I come back to the point of having a clear message and working in a very organized and concerted way to get that point of view out there. Because I think that's the problem. I agree that is the problem. You have a government that's not interested in negotiation, has its own agenda that it wants to pursue, but you also have to cast a light on what the reality on the ground is and why people are feeling so frustrated. So getting that message, getting a unified, clear message of what the problem is and getting attention to it is the crux of the problem. And as the caller pointed out, that's exactly it. You've been pushed into this situation through all of the actions, but no one seems to understand it. So it's incumbent on all of you in an organized way to put that message out there, to get it out, to tell the story, and to help the international community understand what the situation is and what the options are, and where, puts pressure on the current government to do something, or figures out an extra governmental, outside of government mechanism or forum to push the process forward. But if the story isn't out there, if people don't know this is happening, it becomes very difficult to get that attention and get that pressure built up to find a solution.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Isaac, 2 minutes, please. You have the floor. Isaac, unmute yourself, please.
Okay. Thank you, Ambassador Malam, for coming to educate us on what we should be doing as, as a people. You've advised us to work in a concerted way, providing a unified, clear message of what the problem is. Let me preface or let me make my comments, or let me couch my comments in terms of a question. On what basis do the State Department or the international community or the United Nations, for example, on what basis do they make decisions? Are these decisions that they make, are they based on the truth? Are they based on facts? Does the State Department or the United Nations, do they not know these truths? Must we be the one? Yeah, I know it is our problem. We have to bring it to their attention, but don't they know some of these things? Why are they so reticent to, to acknowledge that some of the things that we've been crying about for the last 60 years are the truth? Do they really, international institutions built to function on truth or the rights of people for self-determination? And lastly, when they sit in these boardrooms, either in Washington or in New York, do they sit as humans or as robots? And the reason I ask that is, do they watch some of the images that are beamed on television, either from Southern Cameroons or Iraq or Syria, or some of these things? How do some of these leaders sleep at night when they go back and they cannot make any decision for years and years and years on end? Thank you again so much for coming to educate us, and we appreciate it. And we would definitely try to learn from the advice that you've given us. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And you know, look, this is the ultimate challenge, right? For those of us, you know, I'm not really an academic. I'm not a, you know, I'm a practitioner. I'm a problem solver. Let's not spend a lot of time talking about theory. Let's get things done. Let's find a path forward. Let's figure out a way to solve a problem. And that sort of hallmarked my career throughout my time in the foreign service. And I say that because, you know, there are many of us like this. We see on a daily basis, either because we are present in the country and witness this firsthand, or we pay attention to it through the media, and we see the footage and we know what is happening on the ground and what it means on a personal level to the individuals and families and communities that are affected by things like this. And certainly within the Department of State, you have a lot of people who understand that, and they are touched by it, they are wrenched by it, they want to do things about it. We all want to solve those problems. The reality is that you know, there are lots of those problems out there. And so it becomes it's often a case of triage when there are deliberations and decisions being made about what is the most urgent problem. And it's, you know, it's not just what's happening in Cameroon, it's what's happening, you know, in Nigeria, and what's happening in Syria, and what's happening elsewhere in the world. That's not right, and it doesn't mean that people aren't affected by it or that people don't want to do something about it. It's just that often the reality is that we can't do something about everything and address every single problem. But I share that frustration because I have served in a number of places and have, you know, had experience over the years of places where, you know, human rights and democracy are trampled on a regular basis. And it's hard to watch, and it's, you know, the real personal toll that it takes. I'm not trying to, you know, escape for any responsibility. I think you know, I would say that if there is a change in administration in November or January, when the new administration comes in, hopefully there will be you know, a renewed effort and attention to address some of the challenges and problems on the continent of Africa, including the problems in Cameroon. If we don't have a change in administration, I don't know that you're going to see a whole lot change in terms of the, you know, attention paid to beyond much sort of tangential attention paid to challenges on the continent of Africa. We'll have to see, but I would urge people not to give up on the State Department, not to give up on the U.S. government. There are people in the department, there are people in U.S. Congress who care and who want to see things change and want to see progress and want to see a resolution. But you're competing with a lot of other challenges. And so again, continuing to raise the profile of the issue is going to be absolutely critical.
Thank you, Your Excellency. If you permit us, we have about 3 more hands up. Please just bear with us. This, her turn, is she, if you're not on ground zero, would you be nice enough to state your name, please? Her turn, are you there? Unmute yourself. Yeah, would you be nice enough to, are you on ground zero?
No, I'm not.
Okay, would you be nice enough to state your name, please? And then your comments to Her Excellency.
My name is Priscilla Mbu.
Okay, go ahead, your comments. Could you speak a bit louder, please, so we can hear you?
Okay, my name is Priscilla Mbu. And my question is, with you, I heard Your Excellency, thank you so much, Madam Ambassador. I heard you mention us coming with a unified voice to try to push our agenda. But the honest truth is we actually have a unified voice, but the Cameroon government, they have more money than we do, and they have infiltrated some of our ranks.
Stop that.
They are pushing the Cameroon agenda, like the murders that take place, like the beheading. They are all sponsored by Cameroon government to make us look like terrorists. So our challenge is those 1,000 Cameroonians that have been bought by the government, and they are the ones actually killing people, other civilians in public. And we know because these are people who are paid by the government to kill on video and push it into the international arena. So we look bad. How can we make the international institutions understand that we are not the ones caused beheading women and children? I know it's a propaganda campaign to smear and frustrate our efforts. That's all. I just wanted to know what advice you will give us concerning this smear campaign that is sponsored by the government of Cameroon against our revolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Priscilla. Your Excellency.
Well, I don't know if I have a precise answer for that, because I understand that's what happens, and that's what happens in many conflict situations, especially when one party to the conflict holds the levers of power. It's much easier for them to write the narrative of what happens. And that's why, I mean, I hate to sound like a broken record and go back to the point that it's, you know, the point is that you have to find ways to get your message out, to have your own, if you will, propaganda campaign that counteracts the allegations that are coming from the government. So figuring out, you know, the best way to, you know, which media outlets to target, which speakers, which leaders, how to get the message out is going to become important. And sometimes it starts with just a basic, you know, knocking on doors. I come back to this, knocking on doors at Capitol Hill, talking to staffers one-on-one, and going back multiple times to say, you may have seen this, this isn't true, this is what actually happened. So I can't emphasize that, you know, this is not something that will happen quickly. That's not something that's easy to hear when you know people are suffering and dying, and, you know, all of the turmoil and dislocation and everything that is happening as a result. People don't want to think, well, that's going to go on for a long, long time going forward. But the point is, you have to start now to start to get that out and to just actively at every turn push back on that narrative and try to create your narrative, get your narrative out there. So it's, I don't have an easy answer for it, but that's what has to happen. And that's, you know, what you need to do in order to change the discussion and change the dynamic.
Thank you, Excellency. Let's respect our 2-minute comments. Raymond Asongwe, unmute yourself. You have the floor. Raymond.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Raymond Asongwe is my name. My question actually very closely related to the previous speaker. You have consistently emphasized, Your Excellency, that the issues that, or the direction that we have to take is to emphasize our points, knock on doors, and so on. Actually, it's very, very difficult for anyone to know how much work we have put in. I hear in Canada, we have knocked on all doors. We've taken on the MPs. We've gone from door to door. We've organized town halls. We've met people. But the point I'm trying to make here is that we are dealing with a regime that has overwhelming resources. They use our own resources. They have bought on big firms in Washington, and whilst we are knocking on the doors of the representatives in America and Canada, we're fighting. They are working behind the scenes and doing everything possible with money to undo what we do. And simultaneously, you can see what's happening in the mass media. Look at what the previous speaker highlighted. The Norwegian human rights organization that is highlighting how neglected our situation has been. Why, whilst we are doing all we can to emphasize our sufferings to the international community, why are the mass media with very obvious images that I send about 50 tweets every day on Twitter? They are seeing all this, that no one is highlighting it. Why? Because they have big firms in New York, in Washington, that are trying to suppress everything we are trying to do. This is not something we are living here, working with our meager resources. People are leaving Germany to the United States to demonstrate. People are leaving even Korea, China to the United States to emphasize, and we are overwhelmed. Now, I know that there are no simple answers to this. How do we overcome this overarching, very obvious, a daunting task where we have a regime that has used all the resources that we are supposed to be living on and is paying hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars to law firms in America to suppress our efforts in the United States? These are things that we cannot get. They are paying hundreds and thousands and millions of dollars to firms to suppress the mass media, to make sure that they ignore our sufferings. What can we really, I mean, I come back to you again and again. We're asking the same questions. You're giving us the same answers. It looks like we are, we are knocking on a door that could never be opened. It's just so overwhelming for us. What can we do, Stephen?
Thank you, Raymond.
I feel your pain. I wish I had an easy answer for you. And I don't. And the reality is that, other conflicts and other situations have faced the same kinds of dynamic where one party has all the resources and has the ability to manipulate the narrative. I don't mean to be flip by any stretch. I really do understand the frustration, and it is overwhelming, but that's what they want it to be. They want it to be so overwhelming that people give up and they don't make the effort. So there's strength in numbers, there's strength in unity, having a unified voice, a clearer message, not just a few people, having some leaders who can stand up and make the case repeatedly again and again is the only way to raise that profile. Again, I would say, you know, the State Department can sometimes be an ally, or the U.S. government more broadly can be an ally in this at some point. We're not there at the moment to help raise the profile of the issue and ensure it's on discussion in the United Nations organizations. But it's, you know, there isn't an easy answer. I wish I had you could wave a magic wand and give you a simple answer and say, go do this, 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 and this. But if you look at what has happened in other conflict situations, it has taken time. It has taken just, you know, repeated again and again efforts to get out a different narrative. And at some point you reach a critical mass and it starts to resonate more broadly. What that point is and how you get there, you know, you have to do 15 of these and 12 of those. That's a formula I just don't have, and I wish I did, but I don't have it to offer.
Thank you, Your Excellency. We have one important question that has come in before we will take 3 more comments, and I think those will be our last comments. Now, the question, Your Excellency, are you familiar with the Swiss Humanitarian Dialogue NGO that has helped countries around the world to resolve conflict? Is it realistic to pursue that route? The Yaoundé government wants to put forth preconditions before coming to table with the United Ambazonia groups to discuss this conflict. It is clear their intention is not one of peace, and that is where our frustrations lie. Now, this Swiss dialogue, is it realistic to pursue that route if you're familiar with the Humanitarian Dialogue group?
Okay. What? All right, now, okay. You hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Your Honor.
Sorry, I don't know what's going on with my computer today. Obviously, I need I need to figure this out. I have heard of the Swiss Humanitarian Dialogue. Unfortunately, I don't know a lot about them, but I would, you know, I would suggest that any organization that might be in a position to help bring some attention to the issue makes a lot of sense, to at least have a conversation or reach out to them to find out what they might offer. Certainly, if you look at the Darfur situation in Sudan, back in the number of years ago when it first came to a point of view, it was through the help of NGOs, non-governmental organizations, who raised the alarm and really made it an issue and advocated and amplified the message of those who were suffering in Darfur. So having organizations that may be able to help amplify the message and amplify the plight of the Southern Cameroonians is going to be, can be helpful. And so it certainly wouldn't hurt to at least have a conversation with them and see what they might be able to bring to the discussion. Again, I don't know them with any great depth. Others may be able to offer a better recommendation for that. As for this issue of preconditions, that happens in every negotiation or discussion for conflict resolution. And there's nothing, and they're not the only ones who can set up preconditions. You also can set up preconditions. A lot of this about getting to a solution in a conflict, whatever the ultimate resolution is about having confidence building measures, showing what, asking for things and getting things in return to try to build and create an atmosphere that allows for real, genuine discussion of the issues. I go back to my point at the very beginning of my remarks today about, diplomacy and diplomatic engagement is not about shunting aside difficult issues and not about, lying or not telling the truth or leaving things off the table. It's about finding a way to discuss issues, difficult, complex issues, difficult emotional issues, honestly and clearly. And so in order to get to the point where you can have those kinds of conversations, which doesn't, that's why negotiations and discussions often take so long, because people throw things on the table and that's our bottom line and nothing can happen. And there's lots of people walk away and people come back. And so it's really about creating an environment where people can actually discuss, can hear the real hard truths from each side and from every group. And it's not easy to get there. So, everybody should have an opening position. We want this, we want this, we want this before we're going to talk. Obviously, then there's always discussion about even what those preconditions are. But if the government of Cameroon has preconditions, it's not surprising, because that's true in every negotiation or discussion. You can have preconditions as well. And so ultimately it's going to be about finding someone or some entity or some government or someone that can act as the mediator to take all of these things and identify and find where there might be some possibility of meeting some of the things that people want. So you had discussion obviously before about different international conflict resolution mechanisms that exist. There may be NGOs, there may be other individuals out there who may be able to help with this. But it's really about trying to find a path forward, because if everyone just draws their line and sits behind it and nothing will change. And we all know that the situation has to change because it's untenable for the people on the ground in southern Cameroon.
Thank you, Your Excellency. We will probably take, we have 3 more. Fombat would be the last for today. Zabinando, are you there? Unmute yourself. Lead us. 2 minutes, please.
Yes, I am there. I have a very simple question. Well, we understand, according to Your Excellency, that there are so many perhaps petitions or applicants on the table for help with their situation. What is it that makes some places that come from behind get priority? For instance, the Southern Cameroon's issue has been going on since President Obama was the president of the USA. Very little was done, nothing was done, right up until President Trump came. Then we had the Undersecretary for African Affairs go to Cameroon. I'm talking about His Excellency Thabo Mbeki. But as soon as a mere election issue arises in Belarus, we've had the US Undersecretary go there immediately. So, I mean, I'm trying to know, what is it? How can we, like, I understand you said there is no magic bullet, but it's shocking to the conscience that an issue that we have not lost, I mean, I'm talking about Belarus. Well, not even thousands of people have died there. But what we have in Cameroon, what is affecting the English speakers? We have very minute attention. So how can we, I mean, what can we really say?
Why is that? Oh.
So what, I mean, so it's like we, Cameroon is given the blank check. The blank check, the US has a lot of tools. They can do economic sanctions, they can withdraw. They've attempted to do things, but those are just on the surface. You know, they can withdraw a lot of help. They can impose sanctions. Why are they not doing anything? I appreciate what Secretary Nagy has done, Thabo Mbeki, the statements he has made, but I think it's time to tighten the nozzle or the noose. So, how do we go about getting the US to tighten the noose? Thanks.
Thank you.
Good question, and I understand the frustration. There's competing things going on, and there isn't a set formula for why something suddenly gets attention versus something else. Sometimes it's a timing issue. I go back to my points from earlier that, to be frank, the Africa as a continent and as a region is not high on the White House priority list. And so the events that happen in places like Belarus or the Ukraine or other places get attention more quickly. It's not because the people in the Africa Bureau don't care about the issue, but it's their ability to get it higher on the agenda, to get higher level attention and action from an administration that as a whole is less concerned about Africa. It is the problem. So I go back to my earlier comments as well that, if there's a change in administration in January, and, I would hope, it's my secret hope, my desire, that there would be a renewed emphasis and focus on Africa and efforts to genuinely address some of the real challenges and problems that go on the continent. Not to set the agenda for Africans, not to set the agenda for the Cameroonians, but to support African efforts, support Cameroonian efforts to achieve peace and stability and prosperity for all of the citizens.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Excellency. Let's take two more comments. Don Pasio, you have 2 minutes. Don Pasio.
Yeah, thank you very much, Comrade Muchat. Thank you very much, Her Excellency. I will start by making my comments, because when I listen to your responses, I will try to put it in this way, because when I listen to the way you respond or the way you did your presentation, it is to me like I feel as if the United Nations and the international community has already failed, like the League of Nations failed. We know, they used to call the United Nations a bulldog, a bulldog that barks but cannot bite. But when I look to the way you respond to our question, because the UN people go to them to do lobbies, it's like the United Nations is like a puppy dog that plays around with that person that fits him or her. Yeah. So to me, the UN and the international community, they do not care. And when you talk, they don't put Africa as a priority. Also try to look at it. I try to fix it, but me to fix that word. It's as if the United Nations international
Don Pasio, sorry.
While people are dying.
Don Pasio, sorry, we have problems with your network. Unfortunately, we would have to move on. We have problems with your network.
Are you getting me now?
Yes. Don Pasio, sorry, we might have to move on. We have problems with your network, but I think Her Excellency got your point. Go ahead.
No, I understand the frustration. I will say, and I said this earlier, African Union is key, and I know it's difficult because it is a collection of African governments, but the UN increasingly will take its cue from the African Union, and what African Union highlights as its main priorities or concerns for areas of conflict. So doing what you can to try to get through the AU Commission or the Peace and Security Council, and getting it highlighted that there's an issue that is a threat to peace and security, not just in Cameroon, but in West Africa and Central Africa as a result of this, is going to be critical. But that also then helps influence the discussion, at least at the Security Council level at the UN. The General Assembly, again, is another way where you have a broader voice and potentially more ability to highlight issues. I get the frustration. I feel the frustration. I understand the frustration. As a practitioner in foreign, I have felt this frustration repeatedly over the years, because we want to see things change. We want to make a difference. We want to see progress. We want to see people's lives improve. And it's not always a straight line, and it's not ever easy.
So help us take this thing to the table, that these people are dying. These people are suffering. We are not fighting to separate country. No, we were, and we are still an independent nation.
Okay. All right,
there is nothing that binds us, no written document signed.
Thank you, Don
binds
Pacho.
us.
Thank you.
La Republic.
Thank you, Don Pacho.
We speak with a lot of emotions. We speak a lot of vexation, because it seems as we, the people of Southern countries, our lives do not matter. When it happened in Rwanda, the whole world stood up and said, never again shall this happen. And it is happening in your own eyes. It is happening in front of you.
Thank you.
What are you guys telling us to do? Because we have done what you are telling us here.
Thank you, Don Pacho.
What do you expect from him?
Thank you, Don Pacho. Thank you for that. Let me remind our speakers that Her Excellency is here to share her knowledge and experience with us. She's not a government, and she has not taken on the responsibilities to go out there to the UN or the US or around the world on our behalf. She's just here to share her knowledge, her experience, and it's for us to draw what we can and what lessons we can learn. So we are very emotional, we are very frustrated, we are angry, but as Her Excellency said, and as some speakers have said, let us get the emotions out of this and let us be pragmatic. Her Excellency is here as a guest speaker. She is giving us her experience and her knowledge. Let us take it, have a discussion after Our Excellency leaves, and draw and learn from what she has said and what we can do to move our cause forward. So let us be respectful and understand what this forum is about. Your Excellency, over to you. Sorry about that.
No problem. I understand this is an emotional issue, and I wish I could come here and say, if you do this, this will happen. I like to be able to offer solutions. I like to be able to break complex problems down into simple steps. There isn't a simple solution to this, and there isn't an easy path forward. And I know some people don't want to hear that. So it doesn't bother me that people speak out with that emotion. I understand where they're coming from. And I share some of the frustration and the fact that things don't move. And if I could ever figure out, after 38 years, of why certain issues get suddenly catapulted to the front stage and get lots of attention and resources and time, and why others don't, I could be a very rich person. Unfortunately, I don't have that. I don't have that because it's so much, so much is related to what else is going on in the world, who is speaking out on the issue, what the message that's coming out is. So there's so many variables that it becomes very difficult from situation to situation. I hope some of the things I've said today are helpful, or at least will help you think about what more can be done to get your point, to get the true story out, to get more attention for the issue, to move moving the process of settling, building a brighter future for Southern Cameroon. I hope it's helpful. But it is a difficult issue. I understand that. And I wish you all the very best of luck. And I know it will take a lot of hard work, because that's the one thing I do know from other situations, other conflict situations, is that it does take a lot of hard work. And it will never move as fast as people want it to. And that's unfortunate, because we know people are dying, people are being displaced, people are being put into jail, being tortured, and other things. And the longer that goes on, that's a tragedy. But the answer is not to simply sit around and express the frustration. It's to do something. And ultimately, only relying on violence to meet violence won't create that brighter future for everyone. So thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor, Your Excellency. Sorry. Before you leave us, before you give your last word, let's have a closing statement from our Secretariat. Herman, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Ambassador. We are very honored to have really benefited from your wisdom and experience today. I think we take with us 4 key lessons that we are going to work on. We take with us the necessity to actually build coherent messaging, listening to the diversity of opinions that come from all the various groups of Southern Cameroonians, distilling those opinions into a very common, simple, and direct message, and having leaders that reflect that message. And I think it is key, as you mentioned, that our leaders reflect the message from the people rather than imposing their view on the people. I think second is the need for us to find champions and allies, right? We need to find our friends wherever we can and use them to build coalitions. This task is too much for us to move on our own, and we're going to need all the help we can, starting with, obviously, the African Union Commission, the US Congress. Important to rework our messaging, to use the media as much as we can. We have to learn to be patient. This is going to take time, and as much as possible. Last but not the least, we need to take as much emotion as we probably just saw out of the equation, because I think we need to be thoughtful and deliberate as we move forward, so we don't repeat the errors of the past, and we make sure we choose the most optimal strategy going forward. I think, and as we reflect on it, the need for really getting the diversity of opinion and having leaders that reflect the opinion of the people really, really captures the situation. As we realize that, you were stationed in Cameroon when Biya took over. It cannot go unnoticed that Reagan was the president then, Ronald Reagan, and from then we've had Bush, Clinton, Bush again, Obama, Trump, and soon to be maybe Trump or somebody else. And just that diversity of that change in leadership has brought lots of different perspectives to the United States of America, while the people of Cameroon, our brothers in Cameroon, our brothers and sisters in Cameroon have had just one perspective, which is in no small part responsible for the mess we are in. And so we should also learn from that to ensure that we have leaders that will be able to reflect the diversity of opinion of people that they lead. We know you've had a long and storied career, Madam Ambassador, and you've looked forward to a much-earned rest and leave stateside. But we, the people of Southern Cameroon, much appreciate you taking the afternoon to talk to us, to share your wisdom with us. We would like to leave you with also one request, that I know you look forward to resting, but that you remain an ambassador for us. You carry our message for us with your contacts, with your friends. We will continue to do the heavy lifting. We'll continue to work. We will be weary, we know, but we will rest and we will continue. And we know that With friends such as you, we will eventually overcome this task. On behalf of the people of Southern Cameroon and the Southern Cameroon International Town Hall, thank you, Madam Ambassador.
Your Excellency, you would have the last word.
Thank you. And again, thank you for giving me the opportunity and to talk today. No need to apologize for all of the emotion. I understand where this is coming from. It's a difficult situation. And as someone who has a soft spot in her heart for Cameroon, for the Cameroonian people, for the Southern Cameroons, I spent a lot of lovely time in that part of the country when I was there. We, want nothing but a peaceful future for everyone, so that families can, children can go to school, families can live their lives, people can pursue their livelihoods, communities can be at peace. That's a goal I think we all share. Often we will differ on how you get there, what you need to do to get there. But it's important to have those conversations and to hear the differing points of view and to feel that people are listened to. But at some point, it has to go beyond the talking and the listening, and it has to go on to the action and the movement and the message. So continue your good work through the town hall. Work on better, on organizing, work on identifying those champions for your message, and, roll up your sleeves and get to work, because I know one of the commentators, said I was saying this was impossible. I'm not saying it's impossible. I don't have a crystal ball. I don't have a magic mirror. I can't say what will happen and what the ultimate outcome will be. But it won't be easy, because nothing in the international community, nothing in international politics is ever easy. But it just takes, the commitment, the messaging, the allies, the champions, and ultimately the relationship and coalition building, which means finding where the common points of view, the common themes, the commonalities among us as human beings is critical. So I wish you all the very best of luck. I can assure you I will remain interested and follow with interest what happens with the Southern Cameroons. Africa as a continent has a very special place in my heart, and all of the places I've served, not the least of which is Cameroon, is one of which I have fond memories. So I will continue, even in my private capacity, to be a champion and an advocate for Africans across the continent and across the world, because there are so many wonderful people there. And so many wonderful people who deserve such better lives. So if in some way I can contribute to that, or have contributed to that over the past 38 years and going forward, I will continue to do so. So thank you again for the opportunity. And I hope some of this at least has been of use. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Thank you very much. Again, thank you. We really appreciate you taking the time. Thank you, Your Excellency.
Thank you. And I hope everyone has a great weekend. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.